Good morning, Squirrels. Reading Goblins in the Castle by Coville, Chapter 7. Much Ado About Nothing. I pulled the covers over my head and hunkered into my bed. What was going on? Were the voices really speaking, or had I somehow imagined it? Was I going crazy? I waited for them to speak again, dreading the sound, yet wanting confirmation that I wasn't losing my mind. But they didn't come again, at least not that night. I huddled under the covers for hours, not falling asleep until the night was nearly gone, and only then because I simply could not stay awake any longer. When I went to visit Igor the next day, he wasn't there. I began to worry. Had something happened to him? I wished desperately that he was in his cell so I could talk to him. Back upstairs, I tried again to speak to the Baron, but couldn't find a chance. Though he was in the library until noon, he was immersed in a book and simply did not notice me. Then a visitor arrived, the second in as many weeks, which was surprising since we often went months with no one approaching the castle save the old farmer who delivered our supplies. The visitor was tall and wore a dark cloak with a hood that covered his face. The Baron did not seem happy to see him, but did not try to send him away either. They went to a private room to speak. That was the last I saw of the Baron for the day. I wandered the halls angry and frightened. Finally, I decided to go to the North Tower. Maybe I would see something that would help me understand what was happening. The door to the North Tower was in an alcove set slightly aside from the main hall. As I stared at it, I was terrified to see it begin to change. Its solid wooden face had always been bare of decoration. But as I watched, a design began to appear. Slowly at first, then faster. Silvery lines began to form, creating a 5-pointed star woven all around with strange signs and symbols. Then from the other side of the door, something called my name. I turned and ran. That night, which was Halloween, the voices returned, louder than ever. Shortly before midnight, they began to whisper my name. William. William. Go away, I said, pulling the covers up to my neck and wishing that Igor was with me. William, come open the door. Stop bothering me. William. William. On and on until I thought I was going to lose my mind. I was terrified, but the voices were impossible to ignore. And after a while, their call began to draw me, pull me. It was hard to resist them. I was tired. I'd barely slept for the last several nights, and I admit I was curious. William, William, come open the door. I flung the covers aside and got out of bed. I told myself that I was going to shut the voices up, going because I was angry. I don't know if that was true. I do know that when I heard the clock strike midnight, a change came over me. Though the voices were calling more insistently than ever, I suddenly felt that this was a truly bad idea. Only when I decided to turn back, I couldn't. Whatever was going on had me in its grip, and I could no more turn back than I could stop breathing. I was wearing nothing but my nightshirt. The stone floor was cold against my bare feet, but those feet continued walking as if they were not mine at all, carrying me toward the North Tower. William, moaned the voices, come open the door. We're so eager to be free. I tried to stop, tried to grind my feet against the floor so that they wouldn't move. I couldn't do it. Soon Too soon I was standing in front of the door. The silvery design that had appeared to me earlier in the day was back, glowing a warning through the darkness. Danger, it seemed to say. Say, keep away, do not open. The door said one thing, the voices another. Open the door, they pleaded. Oh, please, William, open the door. I found myself reaching forward and pulled back. The voices grew more demanding. William, the door, they whispered fiercely. William, the door. Again, I felt my hand reaching forward. No, I cried, squeezing my eyes shut. I forced my hand back to my side. William, moaned the voices so sadly. It was as if the castle itself was speaking with a broken heart. Don't leave us here. Open the door. This is the time. This is the hour. This is why you are here. William, open the door. This is why you are here. The words burned inside me like the torch in Igor's cell. Why I was here. Why had I been brought to the castle? Was it to open this door? Was that my purpose? My job? I had felt so long as if I didn't really belong, didn't fit, that the idea that this was my reason, that this was why I was here, what I was here to do, was more than I could resist. I trembled as if I felt my hand begin to rise. William, crooned the voices, we will love you forever if you just open the door for us. Open the door. Tears in my eyes, I reached forward. William, cried a new voice from behind me. Don't! I didn't turn to see who was speaking. Didn't need to. I knew the voice well. Besides, I couldn't have turned if I had wanted to. I was rooted to the spot. William, cried Carl again. Wait! The door, William, hissed the voices more urgently than ever. Now, before it's too late, open the door before the time is gone. This is why you are here. This is why we will love you. The door, William, open the door. Reaching forward, I put my hand on the latch. William, don't do it, cried Carl. Too late. When my hand closed on the latch, the door that had been locked for all those years burst open so violently it nearly knocked me over. I had not pulled on the door. It was as if my touch itself had been enough to free whatever was behind it. A shriek of triumph filled the night as something came rushing past me. Something real, yet no easier to touch than mist. It was shapes and voices, a sense of strange power flowing past me and around me. The air rang with mad shrieks, and a kind of gibbering laughter went careening down the hall. I slid to the floor, shivering with fear and remorse. After a few minutes, Carl crawled over to sit beside me. I saw that he was trembling too. I wish you hadn't done that, he said. What did I do? I'm not sure. He leaned his head back against the wall and closed his eyes. I've been trying for years to figure out what was locked in there, William. Whatever it was, I think it would have been better for you to leave it there. A strange silence had settled over the castle. The door to the tower hung open. The area behind it was dark, darker even than the dungeons, as if a curtain of darkness was suspended across the doorway. You couldn't even see the steps. A draught, bone-chilling, heart-chilling, flowed from the opening. I stood to close the door. Wait, said Carl. I want to look up there. I was surprised. He was braver than I thought. Stepping past me, he peered through the door. After a moment, he stepped back. Can't see a thing, he muttered, shaking his head. Hold the door open, I said. I'll go up a few steps." He looked at me in surprise, but I had spent so much time wandering around in the darkness that this didn't seem as bad to me as it obviously did to him. I wanted him to hold the door, though. I feared that if it swung shut, it might not open again for hundreds of years. I stepped over the threshold and cried out in shock. What waited on the other side of the door was nothing. For a moment I thought I was falling, because there was nothing beneath my feet. Then I realized I wasn't moving at all, simply floating. The darkness was so complete, I felt as if I had been swallowed by the night itself. Reaching forward, I tried to find something to touch. Nothing. I tried to walk. Nothing to press my feet against. "Carl!" "I'm here." "Where are you?" "Here, just through the doorway." "I can't see you. Come back." His voice came from behind me, which made sense. Turning my head, I saw the door frame. Just past it stood Carl. Though he was staring straight at me, it was obvious that he could not see me. At least, he wasn't far away. I tried to turn so I could go back through the doorway, but with nothing to push against, I couldn't move. "Carl, I don't think I can get out." "What do you mean?" "I don't know how to explain. There's nothing here. Nothing. But I can see you. You're only a few feet behind me." "Should I come in for you?" he asked, sounding as if it was the last thing in the world he wanted to do. "No, if you do, we might both get stuck. See if you can find a rope. Maybe you can pull me out." "I'll be back as soon as I can." "Wait," I started to say. "Don't leave me." Too late. He was gone. I looked around nervously. Nothing. Nothing in all directions. Nothing above, nothing below, nothing to the right or the left. Only the door behind me floating in the darkness. I glanced up. How far above me did this space extend? To the roof of the tower? Beyond? How far down? Wondering what kind of emptiness stretched beneath me made my stomach queasy, and I tried to push the thought away. I began to concentrate on trying to get out instead, though I didn't seem to be able to move forward or backward. I found that by squirming I could twist my body around. After several minutes of this, I was facing the door. As I floated in nothingness, hoping Carl would come back soon, my mind began to play tricks on me. The door looked as though it was starting to close. Suddenly I realized it was no trick of my mind. The door was closing. The movement was slow, so slow I could barely notice it. But if I looked away, counted to 100, then looked back, it was clear the door's position had changed. It could have been caused by anything, a draft in the hall, gravity, magic. I didn't care what was doing it. I just wanted it to stop. After a moment, I wanted it bad enough to try to make it stop by talking to it. "Don't shut the door," I pleaded. "Don't leave me here in the darkness." From beyond the door, something laughed.